Welcome to the Arithmetic Zone, and welcome to the finale of Introduction to Web Design. So we're back in our CS folder, and in order to make our final website, let's make another folder within the CS folder. So let's call it Final Website. And inside this final website, we're going to have a lot of files, but let's start with an HTML page. And I'm actually going to call it home.html because I plan on having multiple pages. And let's have home.css. And we might not need it, but home.js. Let's get rid of all these tabs of the other projects we were working on because we're not going to need them today. And as always, let's get started by using exclamation point and a tab, and let us go live using our extension that we bought all those episodes ago. And obviously we don't have anything pop up yet because we didn't write anything, but we're going to change that right now. So I decided for our final website, it's going to be weather related. What it's going to do is, its main functionality is going to have a basic timeline where it shows the weather in a certain area for, the next 5 hours, last 5 hours, next 5 days, all of that. And this is a website that I actually already made before, but I made it in a group for a project, and I'll put the link to that in the description. And I'll also be including the source of the API that I plan to use, but we're not going to be doing that for this video because this is going to be a multiple part series. Anyway, let's begin by renaming our document, and I plan on this being the home page, so we could call it home, but let's call it the name of our website. I plan to call it WeatherWeb. And while this is mostly a remake of that website I talked about earlier, it is going to be slightly different. We'll focus on different aspects. So we go back to our website. We see that the title updated. And anyway, this is going to be the home page. So let us initialize our content. So I think in our CSS, I'm just going to make the background color I want a blue color, but I don't want it to be, too bright. Let's do that. And then we have to link our CSS using link rel. Alright. We want to have a navigation bar because I plan on having multiple websites. So div id nav. I'm actually going to have multiple divs because I plan on having the logo to the left and then all the pages on the right. So for our second div inside, this is where we're going to have all our pages, and they're all going to be links, so we're going to use the a tag. And we have the home page, which is where we're at currently. I plan on having the timeline for our weather. I plan on having an about page and also a news page. See how that all looks. Alright, and I want to have a logo, so I'm gonna go find that real quick. So I just downloaded our logo, and this is what I plan to use. And notice I downloaded it in the final website folder, and I'm actually gonna make another folder within it for our images. And we're going to put it here just so it's more organized. So we're going to move it there. Now if we want to reference it, we have to use img source. We have to reference the folder name, images, and then the file name, logo.png. See how that looks. Let me just move this here. Alright, that didn't work because I spelled logo wrong. Alright. And these are two different divs, which is why they're stacked together like that. Let's fix that. So I want the content in the nav to be all in a straight line. So display flex, I want it to be flex direction in a row. Alright, now it's in a row, and I also think the width of that image needs to be adjusted. So we can write it right here. 200 pixels. Alright, that's decent. And then I also want there to be want there to be a space between these two divs. Space around. Or maybe space between. Space between would definitely be better. The difference between space around and space between. Space around tries to like even out the spacing, like between the items and also between the border, but space between, you know, puts them both at the opposite ends of the border. So we got it to look how I wanted it to, but we still gotta, you know, make it look better. I think the background color of this div should be, let's look at dark salmon. Alright. I also think this should be smaller. Okay. I think so we're gonna give these separate classes, so nav item. To reference a class, I gotta use a period, so period nav item, and then I want there to be a little more space, so margin, let's say 20 pixels. Now there's space in between, you know, the orange and the logo, and also all this text. And with regards to that text, that also needs its own space. So we're gonna give this ID, and let's say text font size should be much bigger. There should be more space between them. I also think the font could be different. Let's just go with Arial. And we're definitely gonna need more space. Alright, now we need space in between all the text, so we could use nav text and then A to reference that. Now there's space in between them. And these are supposed to be links, but none of them have any yet because we didn't make all the different web pages. But I also want to, you know, have the words WeatherWeb on the left side, so we got to go back to the HTML and let's write in WeatherWeb. Let's see how it looks. Because it's in a separate div, because it's in the same div, I mean, as the image, it ends up defaulting to that column. So I gotta give this ID, let's say left nav, hashtag left nav. We want it to display in a row. Alright, and you know, obviously the font size could be much bigger, 50 pixels, and I'm actually going to reduce the size of this. Okay, never mind, that looks really bad. Never mind. So go back to 50, let's say 30. It's slightly squished, which concerns me, so let's say justify content, let's put space between. And then margin, or actually that's not going to do anything. We could reference the H2 and say margin 20 pixels. Alright, there we go. That looks much better. So we made a nav bar. Obviously, you know, we got to put in the links first, but let's focus on actually making our home page first. This is supposed to be the home page, so home page, we're probably not going to use the JavaScript too much because it's just, you know, information. So, you know, let's start off with an H1, say WeatherWeb. Let's see how it looks first. Alright, so clearly, let me put this in another div. Give an ID of mid. Move this here. And we want all of mid to have its text aligned in the center. Like that. And then we're going to have some basic text. Our mission is to provide efficient and easy to use software for consumers to check the weather in any area that they desire. Alright, that text definitely has to be bigger. So what we can do is hashtag mid p font size. Let's make it 40 pixels, and also let's change the font family to Arial. And then we're also gonna have to make the margin left and margin right, so they don't go, you know, too far out like that. Alright, we need a little more. 100. I'm also going to change this title. Alright, let's add another p tag. So check out our different pages on the weather timeline, our staff, and recent use. And then I'm also going to talk about, you know, justifications for why we made this website. That's usually common, but we could also write that in the about page. So I'm actually not going to do this. I'm going to save it for the about page. Looks pretty bad right now, but an image always makes stuff better, so I'm gonna go find another relevant image. Just downloaded another free image off the internet. A strange file extension, but it shouldn't be an issue because I don't plan on using it in any of the JavaScript files. So let's write in image, and then we gotta reference the source, so images slash weather backdrop dot webp. Alright, and there we go. And let's make, you know, the image, let's give it a border in our CSS. So hashtag mid img border 4px solid brown. Alright, that looks pretty good. And let's add a footer to conclude the home page. So I'm gonna write that below the body right here, footer, and just initialize the footer. Let's give it a different background color. Let's try this color. And then obviously we have to write in information, so, you know, let's put in an old-fashioned copyright symbol. So if you don't remember how to do that, use the HTML entity and copy. So let me actually put this in p tag first. So copyright, and then, you know, put in some fake organization name. So I chose WeatherWeb 2023. See how it all looks. So it works, but you can see it's very difficult to see. So we got to change that text color. So footer p color white, and also the font size has to be much larger. So 20 pixels. Let's give it some margins, and then this should also similarly be much bigger. I say a padding of 50 pixels. I'm also gonna move the copyright text in the center. So gotta go back into our CSS, text align center. Alright, and I don't like how there's like blue space at the bottom here, so we gotta add some more padding to it. Padding bottom, let's say another 50 pixels. That might not do anything though. Alright, 100, 150. Alright, that looks pretty decent. And I want there to just be some space. So margin top 20 pixels. So I think that looks pretty good. For the last part of this video specifically, I'm going to just initialize the next couple of web pages that I plan to work on, which are going to be the timeline, about, and news pages. So I'm going to go in my final website. I'm going to make a couple of folders to accommodate for each new web page. So we have one for news, we have one for the about page, and finally one for the timeline. And usually I keep the home page separate, like not in a folder, because the advantage of having it all outside of the folder is that when you now reference your website, if you were to like post it on like any public public portfolio to like keep track of all your files, you won't have to like reference the file name within your URL. So right now, it's just home.html. Like I don't have, an extra folder name in here. But inside of all these pages, I'm going to have their own index.html. We're going to name them based on their web page topic. So about.html, news.html, timeline.html. And then inside of all these, we're going to have the same template using the exclamation mark and then tab. And I keep mistyping. I'm going to rename all of them. So about us. This one can just be news. This one can say weather timeline. And now we got to link all these. So from here initially, so href equals, you want to reference the folder name, so this one's home, so we actually don't really have to reference anything other than the current page. Href equals, this one's the timeline, so we have to first reference the folder and then the web page, so timeline.html. Same concept for all these other ones. So, and then this one is news/news.html. Let me just alright, a little messy, but got it to work. Now these will all take me to the separate pages. Obviously there's nothing in them right now, but I'm gonna go ahead and I'm gonna link all these to, I'm actually gonna link all of them to the original CSS page. So how do we link to a web page that's like, because right now we're in the timeline folder, there is no CSS page inside of the timeline folder. I want to reference outside of the timeline folder, outside of one folder, into this CSS page. How do we do that? I'm gonna write 2 periods and then a slash. So let me just make sure, dot and then slash, and then you want to link it to the file that you want. So home.css, parentheses, and then I just realized I did this wrong. This is supposed to be style sheet, and then the location is supposed to be an href, so I apologize for that. Alright, so now that I set it up, let's go back to our timeline page. And alright, so I don't know what it said earlier, but we now have the blue background, so we know that they're properly linked together, and we're actually gonna copy and paste this into all the other HTML pages. And I'm also gonna copy and paste our navigation bar, because that should be in every single web page. We are gonna have to change some of these locations though, because depending on the file you're in, they are gonna be different. So in the timeline page, or actually wait, yeah, I didn't copy all of it. Alright, so now we have to write // before that one, and then this is for timeline, so we don't need the folder name here, but we do need // before all of these now. So just to make sure that this works, go to timeline. Alright, go to home, it takes us back here. Timeline, about. Alright, there's nothing in about, and news. Alright, so it works. So Now we can copy and paste this new div and put it in all the other ones. Again, we have to change some of the links, so this one should be /timeline/ this one's new, so this one doesn't need the ... right there. And then /timeline/ this one's the about page, so we don't need all this. Alright, so go to home, timeline, about, news, and I'm not going to test every single link, but they should all work, and that looks like to be the case. So that's going to do it for this video. I wanted to just initialize, all the web pages and get the home page mostly finished. In the next video, we're going to tackle the about page, which is going to be mostly the same stuff that we did today. And then we're also going to use the news page, where I'm going to use JavaScript objects. The timeline, which even though it's the main functionality, I plan that to be the last part of this series, because this is where we're going to use our API and where we're going to get very complicated. So I'll see you guys later.